response to it is something that defines the outcome easily and quickly is the target function. Okay. So my another question. So any other responses to target function, please? There are close to 43 students in A division and 42 students in B division, and I have received the response of only one student from each division. So can all the other students please take the pain of typing on your chat boxes? What do I mean by target function? Okay, output of problem statement. Okay, any other responses to it? What's a target function? Very quickly on your chat boxes. We have discussed this yesterday itself. What is a target function? Can I say that the output that I want to predict is the target function? Am I correct? Okay, so I'm going to receive one more response for supervised learning, classification, regression. So classification, regression are the target functions. Yes, Parth, classification, regression are the target functions, or they are the ML algorithms that will be used, or the models that will be used. Yes, so what is the target function? The model function is the target function. Okay, so we can say that it is a function used to get the output. Okay, now say suppose, now please listen to this. So if I write it down as y is equal to x into x, yes, if I'm writing an equation as y is equal to x into x, yes, how can I write this as a function? So can I say that y is equal to function of x? Yes, can I say that y is equal to function of x? Okay. And if y is equal to function of x, then can I say that that is my target function? So that function could be, that function could be anything, right? So it is like processing your input to get the output. Simple. Yes, so it is like when I want to process the input to get the output, then I call it as a target function. Now function could be anything. It could be x square, it could be x cube, it could be exponential function of x to get the output y, right? So as the function changes, your output changes, right? So my second question is, so now I hope target function is clear to everybody. The function, the output that I want to achieve, the outcome that I want to achieve using whatever processing required to process x, whatever attributes being used in x, depending on the model that I have chosen for machine learning is called as target function. Okay, now if I know very clearly, at least now, what is target function, can anybody tell me, will I have target function in case of unsupervised learning? I repeat, will I have target function in case of unsupervised learning? Okay, so generally, and everyone's responding that there will be no target function in case of unsupervised learning, as in case of unsupervised learning, we have no labeled data. So that's why I cannot derive any target function. Yes, and that's trial and error. We can only do that after finding patterns. Yes, once I get patterns, I get some knowledge out of my data, then and only then I can say that there is some functionality possible here to get the output. Yes, okay, very nice. So this is what is our target function is. So students, next is label data. What was label data? What is label data rather? What is label data? quickly on your chat boxes, what is labeled data? Okay, so one response, data with output is labeled data. Second response, meaningful data is labeled data. How do I classify a data as meaningful or meaningless? Yes. Anybody else who wishes to respond? So what is labeled data? So Isha is writing a class of a particular data is labeled data. Okay. So she meant to say the terminology of class to a labeled data, wherein if my data belongs to a class, then it is labeled data. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so very correctly, those who have responded, label data is the data that belongs to a specific class, right? Which is already done by backend processing is already done there. Okay, so next is training and testing phase students, right? As we know that our ML supervised learning will be divided into two parts. One is the training phase and one is the testing phase, right? So training phase where I get the model prepared, testing phase when I'm actually going to test the model on the new instances or on the new examples that are coming into picture, right? So training and testing. Now I would like to ask you a question. Will training and testing data will be different? As in, my question is, will training and testing data will be disjoint? The training and testing data will be disjoint, yes or no? I divide my data into two parts. One is the training part and one is the testing part. So will I have these two data as disjoint data sets, or else there'll be some commonality in between the data sets? B division students, respond quickly. So I've received the response from A division students. Yes, very correct. So the training and testing data are two separate data, and we don't have any common data patterns, data samples in between training and testing data. So these are two different data. One is used for training your model. The second one is used for testing your model, right? Now we get to continuous and discrete data, or else output, whatever you want to say it as. One good example of continuous and discrete data, very quickly on your chat boxes. One example of continuous and discrete data, very quickly on your chat boxes. So I am revising this because these terminologies are very, very important. So continuous and discrete data, very quickly on your chat boxes. A good example of no, I want an example wherein you're picking up an attribute and saying that this is the example of continuous data and this is the example of discrete data. Any data attribute you're picking up and telling me that this is the example of continuous data and this is the example of discrete data. Very quickly on your chat boxes. Okay, so I have received the response from A division students. B division students are writing. Okay, so so somebody told me that height is continuous. So height is an attribute that belongs to continuous data. Okay, so height could be in centimeters, in inches, point wise, so on and so forth. Okay, similarly goes in the weight of a human being. Okay, so the next example for discrete is votes in an election. So votes in an election, whether that person has received a vote or not, right? Yes or no. So that is the kind of output that you're expecting. Okay. B division students, please be more active and please do respond. What is discrete and continuous data? Nice, nice. So these are some very good examples of discrete and continuous data that we have received on our chat boxes. So continuous could be anything like height, weight of a person. Discrete is when I have got two specific values. So votes, whether I have received a vote or not. Yes. So that is your whether disease or not. So these are just examples of your discrete data, right? Okay, so learning we have already seen, we're not getting into it. Data and goals, we need to focus on something, right? So our focus is on what? Our focus is on the target function to train our machine according to the target function and then receive the outcomes to it. Yes, so till here we all are on the same page, and now we proceed with our classification task. Yes, and let me come to the next slide for classification. And we all have seen this gist. We are just going to brush up classification task. Now, students, we are given a set of labeled instances, right? Yesterday we had discussed that instances, examples, samples are all the same, right? A set of labeled instances are given to us. Yes, what do we generate out of it, right? We generate a model out of it, right? So a modeler here, basically to generate a model out of it that fits in for the data that we have provided, right? I repeat, we are generating a model out of the instances that we have so that my model learns from the experiences, right, and derives a pattern out of it and gets a model for me. Okay, and when I get a model for it, then I say that my model fits in for the data that I have provided. When I say fits in, that means it is going to perform, the accuracy of the model is very good when I say on the training data set as of now. So this is the training example that I have given here. Okay, now next is, okay, we are not getting into this model right now. We will come to this later on. Decision tree. Yes. Okay. So how do I classify a new instance now? I have got past experiences. I get a model. I provide a new instance to it. Yes. And to the new instance, I give a class to it. As I'm using classification, so I'm saying I'm using a classifier out here to get the class out of it. Simple. Yes, the thing that you are seeing in orange is the training set. The thing that you are seeing in the white is the testing phase. Yes, so a new instance coming in, I use classifier from the model itself and I classify it according to the classes that are being defined, right? So this is in short, how do I get a new class? Right, so one class or various classes to it, it depends on the model that we have derived. Okay, so this is my training set and this becomes my test instances. Okay, yes, as we have already seen that the classes must be disjoint. True, false, yes, no, disease, no disease. The classes have to be disjoint. And if there are only two classes, I call it as a binary classification task. Binary 0, 1, yes, no, true, false. If there are only two classes, they identify that it's a dog or a cat. Yes, so if a cat, yes, if not a cat, no. Yes, no. So then in that case, I call it as a binary classification task. Yes, okay. So this is, so what is a modeler and how do we get a model? Now we come to this. So we are into the process of classification wherein I'm going to decide what is the modeler basically, on the basis of which I'm going to get a model. So what is a modeler? A modeler is a mathematical or algorithmic process to generalize the instances so that it makes predictions about the new instances that it has not seen before. Simple. Yes, so from the past experiences, it is going to design me a model. The model is nothing but a mathematical or algorithmic procedure, right? And depending on that, my new instances will be classified and I call it as a model, right? ML model. So now, please listen very carefully. What are the different models supported by your classification task? Yes, so the different models are logistic regression, naive-based classifier, SVM, decision trees, random forest, kernel method, genetic algorithms, and neural networks. These are all the different classifiers, classification models that we will be studying. We won't be studying all of these, whatever is being supported in your syllabus that will be covering. Yes, so this is your mathematical model or algorithmic model that will be supported with your classification task. Yes, now the example that you are seeing here on the left, out of the various classification models, one model is described here. For example, so that you understand. So this is the example of iris flower detection into their three different parts. There are three different kinds of iris flowers that we have seen yesterday, the data set for it. So if the sepal length is less than 5.45, it says a yes, it says a no. For a yes, it sees the sepal width. If it is greater than 2.8, then yes, then no. Sepal length less than 6.15, yes and a no. So a tree and then branches to it, and then okay. So now what are the leaf nodes out there? Right? The leaf nodes are nothing but the different classes that are being derived on the basis of the past experiences. Only this model, that is decision tree, we will be able to visualize it as we are drawing decision trees out here. Rest all the models are mathematical models which we cannot visualize, okay, which we will be learning, but we cannot visualize those models. Okay, so this is a simple example of how is my decision tree going to look like. Okay, we'll be doing examples on this so that you understand. Now students, if this is visible to you, yes, now these are all the different types of classifiers, classification models that we have discussed, that we have seen listed out. Okay, so first is decision tree, wherein as of now, just remember that we are classifying our data into blue and red parts. So in all the diagrams that you can see here, in all the graphs that you can see here, you could see that all the models have classified your data into red and blue samples. Yes, so in one class and in the second class. Yes, the pink lines that you see are the model function. Yes, so for decision tree, this is my model function. For logistic regression, my model function is negative slope. For SVM, a curvature line is my model function. Neural network, again a negative slope. And for random forest, it is very, very precise that this is the model that they have derived for random forest to classify my my data into two different categories. Okay, so this is your output that will be generated for different samples, for the same samples but for different models that are being generated out here. Okay, we are not getting into this as of now. Okay, yes. Oh, now the question arises, what model to choose? So out of these different models, now say we learn 5 of these different models. Okay, so what is the kind of model that we all are going to use is the question. Now the question is, out of 7 available, what am I going to use? So what our data scientists trying to do is, they try different models with different parameters. Yes, and then they check the accuracy of the model. Whichever is best, they give you the best results, right? So I will do model A, model B, model C. So say I'm doing decision tree, I'm doing random forest, and I'm doing one more logistic regression out here. Yes, and then on the basis of the combined function, I decide what should be my final model, or the data scientist will decide what should be the final model. Yes, so this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So they take a combination model out of it, and then they try to get the results out of it. So this is one way of doing it when I'm selecting which type of model am I supposed to use. Yes, now we come to how do you evaluate a classifier. That means a similar task, which the accuracy of which classifier is better. So we have got 3 classifiers out here. So which is the best classifier model on the basis of accuracy. So accuracy we have seen in our previous lecture. It is total test instances classified correctly upon the total number of instances. We have seen this example for loan application yesterday. So we try to get the accuracy of the model for only yeses. That means for only true functions. And then on the total number of instances. Yes. One more type of evaluation is, this is self-explanatory. If you see this diagram here, students, yes, I have got a combination of training and testing data, right? In my row number 1, you can see that there are a combination of testing and training data. So what we do is, we decide that one subset of every training or testing data will be devoted to testing data. That means if I have got 100 samples, out of which 25 samples will be dedicated to testing data and 75 samples will be dedicated to training data, right? That is clear. But then who is going to decide which of those 25 samples will be dedicated for testing data and what 75 samples will be dedicated for training data, right? So what is n-fold cross validation going to do is, now say suppose there are 100 samples out here. Out of the 100 samples, the first 25 are chosen as testing data in the first iteration. Yes. So rest of the 75 will go for designing the model. Yes. So 75 samples are going for designing the model and 25 samples, the first 25 samples are for testing the model. I get the accuracy out here. In the second iteration, what happens is, out of the 100, the second lot of 25 samples is chosen as testing and the rest model is there for training. Yes. Third iteration, the third lot of 25 samples is for testing, rest is for training. Till the time I don't reach the last 25 sample points for testing, so that means all the sample points act as training data and all the sample points act as testing data. So I hope you get a better accuracy when you have designed your training model using in a way all the sample points and testing using in a way all the testing sample points of the given data. Is this clear to everybody? Was that clear to everybody? What did we do? That is called as cross validation, students. That is cross validation, right? I hope I am very much clear with cross validation. What is cross validation? Yes. So ideally, when I have a ratio of training and testing data, we assume that for training we keep 80% data and for testing we have 20% data. The ratio is 80-20, or else the ratio is 70-30, right? Either the ratio is 70-30 or else it is 80-20. But then only thing is that it has to be disjoint. The data has to be disjoint between training and testing data. Is that clear to everyone? So we have seen two different evaluation parameters. One is accuracy, yes, and the second one is n-fold cross validation process. Yes, and the different algorithms that we'll be studying later on. How do you what are the different classification models available and what is there in your syllabus that will be covering in your for this, right? So now one more important point, students. How am I going to judge whether my model is a good model or else a bad model? Yes. Now, please understand this very clearly. I'm going to write it. There is validation set as well. Yes, Rutvik. Nowadays, there is validation set as well, wherein that is also called as on hold test set, data set. wherein I get the training, I keep some data on hold, and then for testing purposes. Now that depends on the exact how am I going to where am I applying it basically. So for some data, for some applications, I'll have only training and testing data. For some applications, I'll have training, validation, and testing data. We will come to it later on, but majorly classified into only two types. One is training and one is testing phase. Yes, I hope I have answered your query. So, so now let's get back to our topic. And yes, so how am I going to say whether my, so where were we? Yes, so we were discussing about how are we going to say that our model is the best model, right? So when I say the best model, students, so the best model is, how do I define whether the model is best model? So best model is when the accuracy is good. Yes, the best model is when I'm able to classify my data very correctly. Yes, that is nothing but accuracy in short. Yes. So when do I say that the model is best? Now, please understand this question correct. When my data fits well with the model. I am writing this answer. Let me know what are you understanding out of it. So the best model is when my data fits well with the model. When I say when my data fits well with the model, that means I have got training data, yes, on which my model is decided, and I have got testing data on which my accuracy is decided. Yes. So training, I get the model. Testing, I get the accuracy. So when I say that my model is best, that means what? When it is fitting very, very correctly. So when I'm saying when it is fitting very, very correctly, what does that mean? So say I've got 100 sample points, yes, to be classified into two categories. Okay, I'm just giving you a scenario. So there are 100 sample points classified into two categories, and I say that for one class there are 70 sample points. For another class there are 30 sample points. Okay, and this is my training output, and my testing output says that the output is 60/40. Okay, I hope you are getting the question. So there are 100 samples, out of which my testing says that it is classifying it as 70/30. Oh, sorry, my training says that it is classifying it as 70/30, and my testing says that it is classifying it as 60/40. Can I say that this is a good model or a bad model? Can anybody throw some light on this? There are 100 sample points. For training, I get classes as 70/30. One class 70, another class 30. For testing, I get it as 60/40. Now, can I say this is a good model, a best fit model, or else how is the model? Yes. Okay, so Meet is writing it's an okay model. Okay model. What is okay model? I am saying whether it's a best fit data or else a worst fit data or else best fit or worst fit. We can compare each other. We can compare each other as in what? That is what I'm giving you the output. I'm saying that out of 100 samples, my model is such that it is classifying class A as 70 samples and class B as 30 samples. And my testing classifies it as class A 60 samples and class B 40 samples. मतलब टेस्टिंग में 10 सैंपल्स इधर उधर हुए हैं. Okay, yes. So what is your idea to it? Is my model the perfect fit model or else no? How is the accuracy? What is the accuracy of the model? On the accuracy of the model, now please listen here very carefully, students. So that is why we are giving you the problem of overfitting. Yes. So when I say my model is overfitting, right? So this is an ideal case of fitting the model as per the training data and not as per the testing data. I repeat, fitting the model as per the training data and not as per the testing data. Okay, now let's get back to the definition of overfitting. A model overfits the training data when it is very accurate with training data and might not do so well with the testing data, right? So the problem arises when my model works very precisely, very correct output for the training data samples that I have provided, but it is not doing so when I give the testing data. Now, please understand my first model. My first model says that I am deriving a relationship between the age of a person as an attribute and the outcome is education. Right. So it says that when the age is 12, I am a child. Then when at the age of 36, I'm doing something different. Then at the age of 72, so on and so forth. So as per the age and education, the relationship, the classes that basically are being derived are two classes. One is in triangle, one is in circle. Okay, so this is the target, this is the non-target, and the line, blue line that you see is the model function, the classifier model line. Okay, so now out here, if I see for the training data, the model very well classifies the target with from the non-target. Yes, one sample goes in the non-target area and 2 or 3 samples come here on the target area, right? So by this I say that it is a very precise model to get the classification very correct, okay, with a good accuracy out here. Yes, now when I come to the testing phase, students, when I come here to the testing phase, now the testing data is different than the training data. Yes, these are new instances that are coming into picture for which the classes are not yet defined. And the moment I give the testing data to the same model, is it classifying correctly? Yes, it is classifying very correctly. So now for testing data, the accuracy of the model as far as I can see here is 100%. Yes, so this model fits very correctly. Though in training data, there were some data points that were not correctly identified, but for testing data, it was correctly identified. Yes, now we come to model number 2. And model number 2, please see the left hand side diagram. This is with some different classification model, wherein look at the model function. The model function is such that it is taking care of all the sample points. Yes, so all the sample points are very well classified as target and non-target without any error, without any single error. But then if I use the same function, same model function for testing data and I give new instances to it, what happens? It happens that there are many sample points that are being wrongly classified. This is a classic example of overfitting, right? When I see that my training data has got error-free responses for classification, my testing data fails doing it. The model fails classifying my testing data, right? So this is an example of overfitting model, right? Overfitting my training model so that my testing is haywire in that case. Yes, so this is what we mean by, yes, Rutvik, so better fit than overfit. Very nice. Yes, so don't get into overfitting. That means I want to clearly classify all the training data points, 1 or 2 points or some tolerance of points. If they go here and there, not an issue. But then only thing is you will have to get your testing accuracy very correct, because it is the testing part that is going to play a major role as far as your accuracy is concerned. By this, we do not say that you need to underfit your model as well. I repeat, better fit than overfit is correct, but then do not underfit your model as well. So there should not be many points that are wrongly classified so that your model is underfitted. Yes, there should not be overfitting also. It has to be a so-so thing between your overfitting and underfitting. Okay, so I've got a response from Kushit, and he's writing, we can reduce the number of features to avoid overfitting. Does somebody have to say something on this? Kushit is writing, we can reduce the number of features to avoid overfitting. Yes. The A division students, do you have to say something on this? Your colleagues will say, will argue on this topic. So we can reduce the number of features to avoid overfitting. How is it possible if I reduce the number of features? What will happen if I reduce the number of features, Kushit? Yes. So you want to say that we need not complicate the model by introducing additional, yes, by introducing additional features to it which are not important. Yes, this is what you want to say. Okay, okay. So he wants to say that if for classification, we can use different parameters for classification. Okay, Yash. Okay, yes. Add more data to it. So more data, more training, more samples. Yes, that is true, Dhruv. But then, yes. So features, Kushit has replied very correctly. Features play a very important role. Features or attributes of data play a very important role for deciding your model. Okay, there are some features which are not of prime importance, but there are some features which are very, very important for your model. Yes, so you have got different functions, different algorithms, different relationship algorithms to decide on the features as well, which features to choose, which features not to choose. So there is something called as correlation. Yes. So for features, we use something called as correlation parameter to identify which features are important and which features are not important. So we pick up only those features that are important and we neglect the features that are useless to us. Okay. So this is what we mean by what is the importance of features as well. Thanks, Kushit, for that. Yes, yes, we will do it in data cleaning. Yes, okay, yes. So let us not get into the depth of it. So this is what we mean by overfitting. Yes, yes. So when you are doing your classification task, what are the things? Yes, well, we are coming to this slide. What are the things that you are going to choose? What are the things that you are going to take care of? What features to choose? Yes, that is what we were answering. Try defining different features. For some problems, we need hundreds and thousands of features. For some problem, only 10 features will do. For some, even 2 may do well. Yes. So what type of features are required? What type of features are not required? That is on the application to be decided. Yes. Second is what classes to choose, students. As in case of mushroom, we have seen that we have chosen two classes. One is edible, one is poisonous. Yes. So is it that I need to choose one more class to it, edible, poisonous, and unknown, something else, a third class to it, so that I get more classification of my data, wherein my model will fit well into it. Yes. How many labeled examples do I need to choose? Right. Very correctly, somebody mentioned in the chat box right now. Do I need to increase the number of samples? How many labeled examples do I need to choose? What modular to choose? What type of classification to choose? Yes. So these are the 4 questions that everybody should ask whenever they deal with whenever you deal with your classification task. What features to choose, what classes to choose, what labels to choose, how many labels, how many labeled examples do we choose, and what is the correct classification model that we will be choosing out of the different classification models. Yes, is this clear to everybody? What are we talking about? Are we all on the same page, students? Are we all on the same page, students? Okay, so A division, I've got the response. B division, no response yet. Okay. Nice, super. So if this is clear about classification, so this is all about your classification. Yes, a gist about your classification. So we are just brushing up the overview of classification, what all things are required. So now when I recollect about classification, I know that there'll be different classes. I know that it is a labeled data. I also know that there'll be something called as the focus on data. Next is when I am trying to get the output. So it is a supervised learning output. Now, under supervised learning output, what shall be the features to it? What shall be the label data to it? How many classes will be there? What type of classification modeler am I going to use? Yes, so these are the different things that will come to my mind whenever I will start with my first classification task. Yes, so this pipeline, this whole journey is required for you to understand whenever you start with your classification algorithm. Let it be a simple classification algorithm, decision tree classification algorithm, or else any of the other classification algorithms. But these are the prime things that will be required. So I hope by next, whenever we start with our first classification task, everybody will be ready with all these 4 questions in their mind. Features, classes, how many label data, and what type of modeler am I going to use. That is only possible when I learn all the classification models. Yes. So this is one thing that we all are needed to do, and we are not getting into the unsupervised part now. Okay, what are we doing now is very quickly. I have prepared one questionnaire out here, a small questionnaire, which you will be doing right now. Is this visible, students? A quick response on your chat boxes. Okay. Yes. So the first question goes here. You all are going to write the answers in your chat boxes. Yes. Which one of the following are now? I hope the basic regression task, regression classification, basic things are clear to you all. So these questions are on the basic task itself. Yes, to identify whether you all have understood or not. Which one of the following are regression tasks? Predict the age of a person, predict the country from where person comes from, whether the price of petrol will increase tomorrow, predict whether a document is related to science or not. Which one of the following are regression tasks? Do I have the responses on the chat box? You'll have to give me the answer. Okay, A division students have already replied. B division only one response yet. Very quickly on the chat boxes. Okay. Yes, so I have got the response as A from A division, and B division students have responded as initially A, but then they are saying A and C as well. C. Let me see what C is. Predict whether the price of petrol will increase tomorrow or not. Whether the price of petrol will increase tomorrow? No. For only one prediction, we don't use regression, right? We use regression for generalizing the output, that is predicting the age of a person. Whatever features are given to us, on that basis we predict the age of a person. Okay, not a specific value to it. Yes, so I believe the answer should be A. Okay, next question. Which of the following are classification tasks, students? Given our 4 tasks, out of which you will identify which are the classification tasks. Do I have the answers? So what falls under classification category? Okay. Again, there is one more answer as A and C. C. A and C. I feel C is what? Predict whether there will be abnormally heavy rainfall next year. How can that be classification? We are on question number 2. I hope everyone's on question number 2, not on question number 1. I want the answer for question number 2, students. So for A division, they are writing the answer as, please give your answers. So B division is writing it as A. How about A division? Okay. So A division is writing it as A as well. Okay. Find the gender of a person by analyzing his handwriting, his writing style. Okay. So for style, I'll be choosing different features for handwriting, for writing styles, and then on that basis, I classify the person as a male or a female. Okay. Third question. Which of the following are examples of unsupervised learning, students? Question number 3 in bounded box. Which of the following are example of unsupervised learning? Group news articles based on text similarity, clusters of books on similar topics in a library, filter out spams, segment online customers into 2 classes based on their age group, below 25, above 25. I have the responses. For the next question, what are the responses? Is it that you all are saying C is the response, A division, students? And out here, I'm getting the response as B. C and B for unsupervised learning, students. We are asking about unsupervised learning. Question number 3. Yes, how can C be the answer for unsupervised learning? Let me see what's C. Filter out spam mails. Filter out spam mails is a class, is your supervised learning task. Yes. Question D option is your classification task. B option is make clusters of books on similar topics in a library, right? So a data set will be given to you. On that data set, you will analyze the patterns. You will first recognize the patterns, then come out with the patterns and then form the clusters for the books, right? So I feel B is the option for unsupervised learning. Okay, which of these are categorical features? Right, when I say categorical features, that means we are talking about discrete and continuous, right? So categorical feature, categorical attribute is a discrete attribute and not a continuous attribute. Okay, so question number 4, which of these are categorical features, as in discrete features? So I am getting the answer from A division as C, and I'm getting the answer as C from B division as well. Yes, so the answer is C. Height is continuous, price is continuous, amount of rainfall is continuous, only mother tongue of a person is categorical. Or, okay, this question is very important. Let me see how many of you can understand this question and how many of you can give me the correct answer. If you want, I'll read it. I am the marketing consultant of a leading e-commerce website. I have been given a task of making a system that recommends products to users based on their activity on Facebook. I realized that user interest could be highly variable. Hence, I decide to A. First, cluster the users into communities of like-minded people, and second, train separate models for each community to predict which product category would be most relevant to that community, right? So two tasks he is doing. Yes, the first task is a dash learning problem, while the second is a dash learning problem. So the first task belongs to what? The second task belongs to what? So I have the answers from A division and B division. Okay, yes, very correct. The first task is unsupervised and the second task is supervised. So the option is B out here. Okay, this is very much related to what we have done today, that is overfitting. At what value of number of node does overfitting set in? So this is the graph given to you wherein size of tree, basically a decision tree example, and the accuracy, right? The solid line is for training data and the dashed line is for testing data. At what point do you feel that overfitting has started? At point 5, sample point 5, at sample point 20, or at sample point 30, you feel that overfitting has started. Let me see the answers. Oh, I don't have any answer for this as of now. I have not received any answer. Please do respond very quickly. Running short of time. At what point of the data the overfitting has started, students? Okay, so A division students are writing 5 and B division students are also writing 5. Now let me get back to the problem. Okay, so 5 is somewhere out here, students. Yes. Okay. अगर आप 5 पे हो, यहाँ पे हो, somewhere here or here. Okay. So if at 5, you see that after which, as the size of tree goes on increasing, beyond which the accuracy goes on increasing for training data. Yes, to some extent the same pattern is happening for testing data out here. अगर आप यहाँ से लोगे तो यहाँ पे जैसे ही साइज ऑफ ट्री बढ़ रहा है वैसे ही एक्यूरेसी बढ़ रहा है, but then not in a similar manner like your training data, but then still it is increasing. It is not stagnant, right? After this value, it is straight here. Again, it is straight here. But at 20, when I see at 20, as the size of tree goes on increasing, the accuracy goes on increasing for training data, but the reverse is the case with testing data. That means it is not classifying, it is not giving me the correct result post 20 for testing data, and the model is functioning in a reverse manner like it had done for training data. So I feel that option B is the correct answer, that is 20. Yes, do you have anything to debate on it? Let's do it. If you feel that I'm wrong, then please correct me. But I feel that 20 should be the answer for this question, because to my knowledge at 5 it is still increasing here. As in training, testing is increasing. The graph looks similar, but then at 20, after 20, the graph looks a mirror image. So I feel the answer is 20. Yes. Any comments on my answer? Any comments on your answer? Yes, those who have written 5, do you want to justify your answer? I guess there are 1 or 2 students who have written 20. 2 students from division A have written 20, and from B division, no 20, only A's. Yes. So, yes. So that should be the correct answer as far as my 5 can be used for early stopping. Okay. So Rutvik is saying that I can use 5 for early stopping, but then there'll be some testing data on which still I could feel that the accuracy is increasing. So we will have to decide a point wherein now if I try to stop at 5 and I try to remodel it, try to do revision on my model, and then I should not get into overfitting again at 5 only. Right, so that should be taken care of before proceeding it. So there are a lot many ways to correct your model. That is no issue. Yes, thank you so much, Rupi. Yes, so with this, we come to an end with our session. Hope you understood what we are trying to convey as far as classification task is concerned. And let us get into the depth of your algorithms beyond this point. Yes, so possibly from tomorrow's lecture or from the next week's lecture, we will get into the depth of your algorithms starting from classification. Yes, so allow me a minute to just give you the attendance link. Any doubts still here? You could post it on your comment, your chat boxes. You could put it on your classrooms. That's the attendance link for everybody. And oh yes, Akash, I'll let you know the textbook because there are 2 or 3 books that you will be requiring to refer to, as machine learning is a vast area, and I cannot give you the specific book to it. Let me just go through it and just identify which are the best ones so that I can give you after strong recommendation. Yes, I will upload it today. Yes, I will upload the meet recordings today. Yes, today I'll do it. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.